The story of Joseph is basically stringed together by a series of strange ironies of fate. To begin with, Joseph was sold to Egypt in slavery by his brothers. And then the strange irony of fate caused him to find favor with Pharaoh and become one of the trusted officials in his court. Another strange irony of fate was at work when a famine ravaged the land of Canaan, causing the people to come to Egypt to buy food from the Pharaoh. This brought Joseph and his brothers together again. As you know, this was not just a family reunion. This was actually a family reconciliation. A third irony of fate came into play when Pharaoh was pleased to know that Joseph's brothers had come. He instructed Joseph to bring the whole family to Egypt, promising to give them the goods of all the land. Brothers and sisters, it is in Pharaoh's instruction to Joseph that a powerful Bible lesson is found, which not only inspired today's sermon title, but also suggests the truth that we would do better to consider as we enter the Lenten season in just 2 weeks from now. So listen carefully again what the Pharaoh instructed Joseph to say to his brothers. He said, "Do this. Take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives and bring your father to come. Give no thought to your possessions, because the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. Give no thought to your possessions, because the best of all the land of Egypt is yours." Give no thought to your possessions actually is the powerful verse that I mentioned to you. Give no thought to your possessions. In other words, leave your stuff behind. Now, those of you have moved a lot know how difficult it is. I remember when I moved from El Cerrito to Albany some 15 years ago. It was very difficult to decide what to take and what to leave behind. As many of you have known, I have tons of CDs, and I have a whole library of books. My wife had her own valuable stuff, and we had 2 kids, each with his own valuable choice items. At that time, I wish someone, perhaps the mayor of Albany, had said to us, "Give no thought to your possessions. Leave them all behind. For the best of all, the city of Albany is yours." Of course, this was me dreaming. Brothers and sisters, that was impossible. But I know one thing is true. By the time most of us get to become adults, we have already accumulated a great deal of stuff. I'm talking not just about material stuff. I'm talking also about something that is not material. For example, we have already learned so many wrong things if you have become an adult. We have already stored up so much information, especially in today's world. We have already adopted all the biting, snarling, snippy styles of relating to one another, so that we become very secretive and very cynical in our relationship with others. it is no avoidance to become like that, because we have accumulated all kinds of hurt, all kinds of mistrust, all kinds of betrayals. Now you see why this advice of Pharaoh to Joseph's brothers is so powerful. Give no thought to your possessions. Give no thought to your stuff. Just leave them behind. This is very powerful. So this morning I would like to share with you along that line. Let's talk about what is some of the stuff we need to leave behind. This is February. We are, pretty new to the new year 2022. What are some of the things you have to leave behind in order to venture into a brand new start in this new year? This morning, let me give you two things only. The first start to leave behind that comes to my mind is a psychological one. During this new year, we need to leave self-pity behind. Self-pity. Honestly, I don't know of a heavier burden that most people carry than self-pity. And yet, strangely, it is the kind of burden that most of us are unwilling to drop, unwilling to leave behind. There are all examples of self-pity. Let me give you some. Someone hurts you, someone hurt your feelings, and you carry your hurt with you forever. Or we are treated unfairly and we never forget it. Or we suffer physically and we get the idea that the whole world, everybody, is out to persecute us. These are all examples of self-pity. But why we carry the burden of self-pity and refuse to let go? This is because when we carry the burden of self-pity, it gives us an excuse to blame the faults of other people, on something else from us. It gives us that privilege to say it is all your fault. That is the only reason I can think of why we refuse to let go of this burden. But the truth is, carry this burden of self-pity and go on with your life is to go on in this life as a cripple, stumbling along in a faltering place. Brothers and sisters, we need to leave the burden of self-pity behind. We need to strive into the future, not with self-pity, but with self-affirmation. We need to affirm that during this coming year, 2022, God is going to journey with us from day to day. This is not self-pity, this is self-affirmation. The second bundle of things that needs to be cast off during this new year is a spiritual one. I call it cancel sin. Cancel sin. The phrase comes from Charles Wesley's hymn, "All for 1,000 tongues to sing." That particular song, is always, hymn number 1 in any of the UMC hymn book, no matter what edition that you have. The first hymn that is listed, it may not be hymn number 1, but it is always the number 1 hymn in the hymn book, UMC hymn book or Methodist hymn book. It's always a hymn written by Charles Wesley. All for 1,000 tongues to sing. Cancel sin, that phrase comes from that hymn. Well, Charles Wesley, in verse 3 of that hymn claims that canceling our sin is what Jesus Christ did for us. Then we repeat, part of that phrase to you. Verse 3 says, Jesus Christ breaks the power of canceled sin. He set the prisoner free. His blood can make the foulest clean. His blood a veil for me. This is half verse of verse 3. And from here, we get this idea of canceled sin. Again, I know something is true. Many people who knock on the doors of a pastor, myself included, I've been pastor for 20 years. Many people knock on my office doors for counseling. Those people, 80% of those people are burdened down by canceled sin. Because somewhere in the past, they had done something wrong. They have been involved in those situations about which they feel more guilty. They feel guilty. They carry this around as an inside burden for a long time, which no one knows about. But it grows and spreads until it poisons the person and brings a sickness unto death. Sometimes, when you carry, a guilty feeling inside you, and you are afraid to tell others, it can make you sick, physically sick. I've been pastors long enough to know 80% of the people knocking on my door, trying to find some help, carry this burden of canceled sin. Why it is called canceled sin? It is canceled because you know and I know Jesus Christ has already redeemed your sin. Your sin has already been forgiven, but you insist to carry the sin with you forever. It is canceled, but you still carry it. How do we cast this burden aside? As I have already told you, there is only one key: confession and inner healing. Confession is easy. You come to church, you make a confession of sin. You make a prayer of some kind, confess your sin to God. But there is also inner healing. You have to experience that joy that your sin has been forgiven. Otherwise, it is forgiven, but it is not canceled for you. Once we have confessed to God, to an intimate friend, your friend, your best friend, or if you cannot find one, a pastor can be that person for you. Or sharing in a group, you don't have to carry the burden alone. The poisonous guilt that has been bottled up inside can be released. So brothers and sisters, two things: self-pity and canceled sin. Those are the two possessions you need to leave behind. Let me borrow the Pharaoh's words again. Do not consider, leave behind, give no thought to those possessions, those self-pity and canceled sin possessions. Leave them behind, because God's loving forgiveness and acceptance is already yours. Go into every new day with that affirmation, with Jesus Christ, and go joyfully. I hope that will be the journey that you have to travel during this new year, 2022. Now I'm going to turn to the Taiwanese congregation.